proof of use of work takes your graphics cards and allows you to point whatever in the marketplace at whatever makes you the most money. You know, if you can literally tune your graphics card up on proof of use of work, leave it there, and as jobs come in, you're going to basically be pulled for those jobs.
It's just
Yo guys, Matt from Upsilon Mining back at you with another video, and today I wanted to cover a topic that I know isn't the back of everyone's mind, but we don't quite really know what's going to happen with regard to GPUs, GPU mining in general, and the crypto sphere. No one can argue that the past year or so has been pretty horrible. Pretty much crypto dropping every single month, bad news, exchanges crashing, people losing their money. The value of Bitcoin dropping from its all-time high of 69,000 or around there. Now it's down to hitting super lows of this year of 16,000 and 15,000 and even less possibly in the future. We don't know what's going to happen. And GPU mining really took a hit with Ethereum mining coming to an abrupt end. So we can all basically agree that this year has basically been a combination of a perfect storm, which has caused the cryptosphere to kind of, not just miners, but investors and everyone who has a stake in cryptocurrency in general, has suffered tremendously. If you've invested into crypto using any of the exchanges, or do you know anyone that's involved with NFTs or any of the other projects, the values of these coins have dropped across the board due to a lot of fear and uncertainty, a lot of corruption in the various exchanges. The recent FTX crumbling issue with SBF there, Sam Bankman-Friedman, misappropriating customer funds. We're talking billions and billions of dollars, which were invested into these cryptocurrency exchanges and simply misused. I mean, it's kind of like going into a bank and putting your money in there, and then you're the bank taking their money out of there and then going and investing in a bunch of high-risk investments to try to make more money from your money, and then you go back and the next day try to get your money out and you can't get it. So there's not a lot of hope. With the Ethereum merge, that even added additional, that was before FTX, but that added additional strain on miners specifically as well, by cutting out a huge portion of the revenue that we got from mining. But, with all bad things, when one champion leaves the ring, it leaves the spot for another champion to enter. I think that champion could be FLUX. Let me explain why. First off, when is this proof of work supposedly going to come? And what is proof of work specifically? So if you've watched that original opening clip there from Daniel Keller from FLUX, and I put massive credit out here to the hobbyist miner for putting this interview together. Absolutely splendid, man. So if you haven't obviously subscribed to Hobbyist Miner, go subscribe to Hobbyist Miner. I'm pretty sure everyone has. He's actually one of the very first YouTubers that got me into crypto mining and crypto in general. Actually, I started following his channel roughly a year ago, and I recommend all of you also go follow his channel if you don't already. But in this interview, Daniel Keller specifically says that FLUX, proof of work, proof of use of work. It's not just proof of work anymore, guys. Proof of useful work. So instead of just using your GPUs and your hardware to calculate millions and millions and billions of hashes to kind of find a block, which is kind of what crypto mining is right now, to secure the chain. It's a consensus layer. It's how new blocks are added to the chain, and it's how we get paid. Every time a block is found, there's a reward. There's a block that's found according to an admission schedule, and that reward is given out either to a solo miner, you get the whole block reward, or into a pool, and the pool splits the reward up. And that's how it works. We combine all our computing power in order to do these computations to complete blocks and add the block to the blockchain, and then as a reward for that work and the electricity put in and all our efforts, we're rewarded. Unfortunately, the market cap is too low right now across most of the coins, so there's not enough money to go around, basically. So when you get your rewards, or also call them yields, think of a farm or a farmer. If you're a farmer on a farm and you're planting corn, and you wanted to find out what your yield is for the end of the season, and then you sell that yield, right? Right now, the yields are good on some coins, but the market caps are low. So there's even if you get a million coins, kind of like one example is a Meow coin. I have a roughly 30,000 Meow coin. It's only worth $7. I could probably buy a million Meow coin for significantly not very much money at all. Ethereum had such a huge market cap that the yields were small, but it didn't matter because that ended up with, even with very small yield, just because the coin was worth so much, it translated to real world dollars that made our efforts worthwhile. And unfortunately, in the real world, we pay for our electricity using real money. And so it does matter. It really does matter. But with FLUX, proof of useful work, this adds a very interesting paradigm to the entire industry of mining, the entire hobby. Because not only are you solving hashes and computing hashes to complete blocks, to find blocks, your graphics cards are getting put to use for other things other than just mining. And I think the cool thing about where FLUX is going here with this, and as a software developer, someone working in the IT industry myself, I find it very, very, very cool technology that they're doing. Your GPUs can be used for other things, such as, for example, rendering, right? Or solving very, very complicated scientific or research type of algorithms. Or think in terms of SETI. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, which was pretty much popularized in the movie Contact I think it was in the 90s. I'm aging myself now. But search for extraterrestrial intelligence used massive amounts of computing power to analyze radio signals for patterns, repeatable patterns, which could be, possibly signals sent from aliens, right? In order to actually analyze, all the information that was being sent in these radio signals, computational power had to be used from not just NASA's computers and SETI's computers, I guess it would be, but millions of computers across the globe. That is an example of proof of useful work, where you can use the computing power of your machines, your GPUs, to do things like that. And for example, an organization like SETI would pay for that. Or even, for example, a lot of scientific research foundations might use your GPUs to, as an example, do various analysis on the genome or DNA analysis and chromosomes and DNA to find, solutions to or cures to diseases that we might have. It takes a massive amount of computing power to analyze this type of data. The same thing can be used for 3D rendering for people who don't have high-end computers, or companies that don't want to spend millions of dollars on very, very high-end desktops for example, people working in the maybe in like I guess I would say the animation industry or the movie industry, CGI, special effects, things like that. They could actually pay for the time. So instead of let's say you wanted to put together a very complex scene using 3D animated graphics, right? And you have a bunch of animators as well as 3D graphic artists that work in the creating 3D models and things like that. In order to render an entire scene, at 30 or 60 frames per second, require a certain amount of graphics power. If any of you work with any sort of rendering software, you'll be aware of this. And same of you who've worked with any sort of kind of like AutoCAD or rendering systems. They require a lot of power in order to render these types of things. Or even games. Think of it in terms of games, cloud gaming, various applications like that. Your cards can be rented out at a fraction of purchasing the hardware. So you, as a miner, you as someone that's interested in participating in this, put down the capital, just like before with the mining. No difference. You'd go out with your credit card or with your wad of cash in your hand. You purchase a 3090 or a 4090 GPU. You're putting in the capital expense, and in order to use your computation power and your electricity, you are renting out your services. We are service providers as miners. So this is shifting. This is really shifting from being a service provider of, being adding security to the network, which we still can, to start doing very cool, useful things and getting paid for it. And these things, and the company might, a company that say like Sony or something, they might pay for the time to render 3D animations using your hardware and using thousands of other people's hardware. And they might pay a lump sum towards Flux or into Flux, and then Flux would pay you guys out. And then maybe once that's completed, your your mining rig might shift back to the mining operation. So think of it in terms of your mining Flux, and then a job comes along, and then your GPU then picks up that job, processes the job for maybe an hour or two. Sony paid, I don't know, $5,000 for that job. Say 50 miners did that work. You divide the $5,000 by 50. Flux probably takes a portion of that for their own revenue, and then you're paid the rest. This is a game changer, guys. This is an absolute game changer. Flux is awesome with decentralized computing as it is. Like, as a software developer, I do software development, and I build applications for large companies, right? So I work for large companies like Toyota, Air Canada, things like that. And I build cloud-based computing systems for them. And I use systems such as AWS and Azure and Google Cloud, right? So these are basically just these. So think in terms of Google and Microsoft, right? So as a company, you have two options. You want to build a website or be able to build a service. Okay, so the first option is you can go and buy all this computing software, these hardware and servers, and you need all the infrastructure and all of the personnel to maintain that, right? You might need a building, refrigerated room, air conditioning systems, networking hardware, licensing. There's a million things involved with setting up an on-premise data center. In the last 15 to 20 years with cloud computing, many companies, including myself with my startup, Flow Dynamics, I use cloud computing to do that because first off, I can't afford to, purchase, multiple bare metal servers. These servers can cost tens of thousands of dollars, not to mention all the infrastructure and the ability to actually host these systems, right? To actually put it somewhere physically, maintain it. Microsoft through Azure and Google through AWS alleviates that by giving you a simple web UI basically and the software tools to deploy your applications to these servers, and they maintain the servers. Okay, it goes on a server somewhere in the central US or central Canada. You specify your region, and that's where you deploy your application to. But Flux with decentralized computing, what they're proposing to do is say you deploy an app, right? So you have a website or some sort of service. You build Twitter or something like that, a new version of Twitter, and you deploy it out onto Azure or AWS. It's going to probably go onto maybe one data center with some redundancy across another data center, right? But it's still maintained and controlled under Microsoft or Google, right? If they want to shut down your environment, they can shut it down. If the government wants to come in and shut down your website for whatever reason, they can just send a court order to one of these cloud providers and they can shut it down. With Flux, decentralized computing, basically you can actually deploy your application, and it's not hosted on any one machine or any one region. It's distributed across your entire network of nodes. These are what the Flux nodes were for that I was selling, the Cumulus nodes, Nimbus nodes. You're offering computational power, storage, and things like that in order to host decentralized applications. With proof of work, this adds basically a third way, essentially, to make to be involved with Flux, right? So the first is obviously crypto mining and investing, I guess. So there's two there. There's 4 ways. You can invest into Flux, buy the coin. 2, you can mine the coin, which is what we do as miners. 3, you can deploy a decentralized application onto the Flux network, which is freaking awesome. I'm actually looking at wanting to figure this out and do some of this as well. So your application becomes decentralized across the globe. No central entity can cut it off, turn it off from anywhere, which is awesome because that's the whole spirit of decentralized cryptocurrency, guys. It's amazing. It's not just it's not just a coin that you use to buy things with, right? And it's kind of like, well, how like Ethereum was, so one of the biggest things with Ethereum that made it very popular was NFTs and decentralized apps. This is where Flux is going, and this is why I personally believe that, not financial advice, if you're going to put your bet on any one specific project, I think it would be on these guys. This guy, Daniel Keller, is very, very visible. He's not shy to do interviews. He's not shy to explain what the project is. And if you go on the Flux Discord, you'll see that there's a ton of interaction going on in the Flux Discord. And there's a lot of people willing to help with even just the Flux nodes getting set up. And largely driven by the community. And they got lots of devs, and there's lots. If you look at the actual GitHub on Flux, there's actually a lot of so the Flux GitHub. There's a lot of activity on. There's a lot of pull requests and things being done. So a pull request, if you guys don't know, if you guys aren't developers, I'm a developer myself. So a pull request is, say I'm a developer. Okay, say I'm on the Flux team or I'm contributing to Flux, right? A pull request is I've made some improvements or some changes to the code, and I say I want to take my code and I want to merge it. Like I want to merge it in with the main code of Flux, or maybe the testnet or development environment, whatever their environment setup would be. So I create a pull request, and I say, hey, I want to put my code into here, and then maybe a couple other team members from the Flux team or whatever development team, and this works across all development organizations, will look at the code and say, okay, do a code review. Is this code good or is it bad? If it's good, we'll incorporate it into the branch, and then eventually we'll promote it up to the main branch. Is it not good? Let's make some improvements on it. So doing a pull request is this basically me saying, hey, I made some changes to it. Let's pull it in. So if you go to GitHub on Flux, you can Google probably GitHub Flux, and you'll see there's a crap ton of pull requests being completed and things being done. Usually that means they're fixing things and they're working on things. So the more pull requests, the more activity, the more things are being done. I've also noticed with their Zelcore wallet, that's another thing, their Zelcore wallet. These guys are awesome. Like, this project is epic, guys. So they have a wallet, which, if you guys don't know, check out Zelcore. I think it's called zelcore.com, or just Google Zelcore, Flux Zelcore. That wallet has multiple assets. It allows you to do swaps between different currencies. Obviously allows you to track everything in one wallet. And they just released a new version of this Zelcore wallet. The same wallet is not just a wallet, but allows you to check on decentralized apps. And apps, one of the things you can check on is the nodes. So you can actually check on your Flux nodes there, start them up, shut them down. Like, they are really working on some big things, more so than anything I've seen with the other projects. And maybe some of it is confirmation bias. You know, I'm kind of seeing Hobbyist Miner and a lot of these other YouTubers do content on Flux, but this is from my perspective as a developer working in, you know, in the cloud and working on applications for 25 plus years. I could see companies like Microsoft, Pixar, Sony getting involved in using your graphics cards. Think of the time it would take to render a movie on, and the expense involved to render a full feature film movie for Sony on what they might have in-house, right? The cost for the hardware, to have all this hardware to render and things like that. Imagine if they could rent out that power from you through through Flux and render that same movie in like 5 minutes versus, say, 5 or 6 hours. The productivity improvements are tremendous. And not to mention this, but get this, guys. Let me just play this clip for you right now on when proof of useful work will come out.
Give us the rundown on when we're going to get proof of useful work. So what can you tell us today as of mid-November?
Well, I will tell you this. We had a meeting about a week ago, and we actually got a chance to really look and dive deep into the white paper. Proof of useful work is coming, and it's coming along quite nicely. I think it's coming along quite nicely. I think what they're doing and putting together is going to really, it's going to be a positive thing. Our ultimate goal is to have this on testnet by the end of the year, beginning
2022.
In 2022, into Q1 of next year. So, and people always ask us, they're like, how long till proof, mainnet, right?
Yep.
Proof of use work done the right way is going to take 2 years from getting TAD.
So if we started.
So if you heard that, he said to actually go to their mainnet, or to actually go to their production environment to get this thing out for everyone on a production level, roughly 2 years. That puts us around, well, obviously, November of 2024, which is right before the bull run. So there's the extra little bit of nugget of good news there. as you guys know, the next crypto halving with regard to Bitcoin is going to happen in 2025, which means the rewards are going to be split in half. And usually when this happens, there's a huge bull run that will essentially skyrocket the values of most of these cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin. Can't say for some of the altcoins, but if they line this up around 2024 and 2025, when the Bitcoin halving occurs, we're looking at tremendous growth within FLUX. If they can get adoption from large players, Disney, for example, Sony, think of these companies, EA Sports, companies that produce games and other online media, maybe even somehow VR, venturing in other areas, scientific research. I think they already have something going on with the University of Switzerland, or I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they want to use the proof of use of work for things like doing research and scientific analysis, things like that. Guys, I can't say how excited I am for FLUX for the future. Now, obviously, I can't tell the future, and no one else can tell the future. But I feel pretty damn good about this in particular. So, if anything, you guys have something to look forward to with FLUX. Unless something really bad happens, which prevents the project from moving forward, in a way, or they can't meet their goal of hitting within 2 years. They're moving in a direction which could potentially be game changing. And I don't know if there's any other players in the space right now that's not just building a cryptocurrency, but they're building something that is crazy useful. Like if you look at the value of FLUX now, I mean, imagine what it could be if they complete proof of useful work, if they get adoption from large companies, large players who want to use this proof of work service. And on top of that, Bitcoin halves and increases in value, bringing up, Ethereum and FLUX with it. We're talking massive potential for revenue once again. And not only that, but for most of you who feel down about your GPUs right now being shut off and not being, you can't sell them for maybe what you paid for in the bull run, for example, think about how valuable they're going to be once this proof of useful work happens. People are going to be wanting to scoop up those 3090s again for $3,000. Who knows? And this is a level above and beyond Ethereum. The concept of proof of useful work is pretty much unique, I think, to FLUX, and I'd be interested to see if there's any other projects. If there are, please comment below. But I think you guys, not financial advice, but save your GPUs. Don't sell them. Don't sell them yet, because it's coming. Something good is coming, and I think there's going to be something really, really good. And once again, thank you so much, Hobbyist Miner. Thank you very much for doing this interview. And if any of you haven't gone to his channel and watched this full interview, please go over and watch this full interview. I'll comment it. I'll link it below. But I think this will be great for us miners and GPU miners specifically. And I think you're holding on to a potential, if you have a stockpile of GPUs, I think you're holding on to a potential future gold mine. So anyways, I'm just going to leave it there for now, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video. If you like this type of format where I kind of like do some analysis and just do a voiceover on what I think about specific things occurring within the mining or the crypto community, that'd be great. Anyways, guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.